Hi everyone, I'm Rob Butterfield and I own the Butterfield Agency, where I help solve Medicare and life insurance problems. Welcome to my video. Today I'm going to talk about an important question that pops up with some of my clients that have Medicaid in Washington. What is a spin down? Or I don't qualify for this or that because I have a spin down. How does a spin down work? So in this video, I'll explain what a spin down is, who it applies to, and how it works here in Washington State. So let's get started. What is a spin down? A spin down is a way to qualify for Medicaid by reducing your income through medical expenses. So essentially, if your income is too high to qualify for Medicaid, you can spin down the excess on medical bills to meet the eligibility requirements. This process is particularly useful for individuals whose income exceeds Medicaid limits, but also has significant medical expenses. So it helps you get the coverage you need by spending down things to meet the income limits. So first, let's talk about what the income limits for Medicaid in Washington State are. These limits vary based on factors like household size and specific Medicaid programs. If we go to the Washington State Department of Social Health Services website, they have a definition of a spin down, and they don't really give me a specific income limits here. And I think it's because there's a lot of things that factor into it. So it'll really be specific to your household and the assets and the things that you have. But they do have an example of a spin down and how it works here. And so on their website, they have an example, and this example was effective January 1st of 2024. A single person receives $1,200 per month in Social Security benefits and has $1,000 in savings. Their resources are below the resource limit, but their income is above the income limit. They would be eligible for Apple Health coverage once they've met the spin down liability by providing bills. And so in this case, their income is $1,200 a month. After they refactor their personal situation, they can count $1,180 of it. So that's the countable income, and the medically needy income limit in this situation is $943. So they subtract the $1,180, they subtract the $943 from the $1,180, and that gives them a liability amount of $237. Now that they have that liability amount that's $237, they have to figure out what the base period is going to be. And you can pick between a 3-month or a 6-month base period. They can be calculated either way. So this means that you can choose to meet your spend down liability within either of those time frames, depending on what works best for you. And so in your situation, if it's better for you to have a 6-month spend down amount, you have that option. If it's better for you to have a 3-month base period, you have that option. The differences would be once you've met your amount. So let's use these examples here. The 237 times 6 is $1,422. So once you've met that $1,422 amount in cost or bills, then they will give you full-on Medicaid from there for the following 6 months. And that keeps rotating. So every 6 months, you have to meet your spend down. Once you've met it, they'll give you the following 6 months. If you meet it in the first month, then that's fine. You've met it and the 6 months starts over. But the window for the base period is 6 months based off of the decision that was made. And so in this case, it's a 3-month window. So the same thing would work. Once you've met 711, they would give you the following 3 months of Medicaid. And then after you've got to the end of that, they would require you to meet your spend down again. And once you'd met that 711, they would start another 3-month period of Medicaid. And so there's some more examples on DSHS's website, and I'll put the link to their website up so that you guys can get to that. But there's some tips to use when it comes to base periods, and I'll go over those in a bit. So to meet your spend down liability, you have to submit your medical bills to the Department of Social Health Services. Now, those bills will be used to reduce your income to meet the Medicaid eligibility level. Common types of medical expenses that can be used are doctor's visits, hospital stays, prescription medications. There's some over-the-counter drugs that, if prescribed by a doctor, that can be covered. And once you've met your spend down liability, Medicaid coverage begins, and it's important to track all of your expenses and submit them promptly to ensure that you can have continuous coverage. Now, finally, I'll go over some quick tips and maybe some alligators to look out for. When you select your base period, make sure you consider your medical needs and expenses. If you have high medical cost in a short period, a 3-month base period makes the best sense. Otherwise, a 6-month period might be more manageable. HS, their phone number's on the website as well. They can help you through the process. You can also always contact me if you have questions. You can call me on my cell, 509-703-5655. And there's also on my website where you can schedule appointments and reach out to me if needed. So to recap, we've covered what a spend out is. We've covered how it works and some tips for managing the process. Remember, spend downs are there to, they're there to help you qualify for something that you wouldn't have qualified if they just had a hard limit. So I know they can be frustrating. Sometimes I hear people very frustrated with spend downs, but at the end of the day, when managed correctly, they can be very helpful for you. Another tip is something to point out is that, and this is right on DSHS's website, bills don't have to be paid for to be applied for the spend down. You just have to show that the expenses are owed. So if you don't have the money, but you've got the bill, still submit the bill, whether it's paid or not. Now, you can't submit the same bill in multiple base periods, but you can submit a bill that happened in that base period for that base period. And even if that bill ends up getting, paid on a monthly basis or it's owed, it's still a bill and it still counts for the spend down. There's also some additional resources on their website that you could look at it as well that could be helpful. But ultimately, if you have any questions or need any assistance, don't hesitate to reach out. I'm here to help. I do these videos to kind of make sure that you guys are staying informed. And whether you're a healthcare coordinator or a social coordinator or someone that's on Medicaid or power of attorney for someone, or whether you're someone that's just turning 65 and on Medicaid, these things can pop up. So don't hesitate to call me. That's really what I do this for, is to solve those problems. Thank you for watching my video. I really do hope that it's been helpful. Blessings, everyone.